Came a running. How is everyone on this slightly warm day?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, thank you. We got the beautiful Miss Carla back in the house. Thankful for her daughter to come in and bring her. It's good for you, the walking's good for you. All right, it's a beautiful day, so let's get up and kick this celebration off by singing "My Soul is Welcome Here."
I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, yeah. All right. I'm in the right place, at the
All right, all right, all right.
Come back, you know you're that's right.
Well, it's time to welcome up our reader of the day, Miss Eileen Burns. Come on down.
Good morning. Well, let's see. This is from January of 2006. I found it in my box of treasures, so it must be the one I'm supposed to read. Let us. And speaking of the hot place in man's consciousness, call it the habitual center of his personal ego. William James. As we bring ourselves to a greater vision, we induce a greater concept and thereby demonstrate more in our experience. It's from Science of Mind. Today, Ernest Holmes wrote that we live in a field in which there's no past, no present, and no future, merely a continuation of being. What this means is, as creation of the One, we are always passing through a continuous flow of mind and substance. What we are resistant to, or what we are closed to, we will pass through and receive little input. Such is the sovereignty that we enjoy as expanding spiritual beings. Goodness, wisdom, creativity, and love are never forced upon us, as Holmes states that we must be let alone to discover ourselves. The hard part of being so constituted is that we can make a lot of mistakes along the way. The easy part is that we can choose at any time to become more open to our divine inheritance. Today is a perfect time for us to become more spiritually curious. What does that require? Are there beliefs, behaviors, habits, and attitudes that we may have to relinquish so that we are not continuing to put roadblocks in our way? If we are to stand as a newly self-awakened person before the world, we may have to stop hiding in our self-made shadows. We need not attempt these changes alone. God can be revealed to us in many ways, some of which come through the words of prayer and support of those around us. Let's choose greater self-expression and participation in life today. Every minute of the day, every mile of the way, God in me, through me, as me, reveals a shining ray. Today I stand firm in my resolve to be healed and therefore revealed as a spiritual being. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. Let's go into I am love, I am light, and from there, opening invocation.
I am the radiance of spirit shining bright.
to understand such a truth, that we are love, we are light. And to understand that each time we open our eyes from sleep, we have an opportunity which expands before us. We have choices to make, steps to take, to understand the opportunities that await us, to understand that we have the ability within us to create heaven on earth through our choice, through our thought, through our actions. We have the ability to understand that worry does not fix tomorrow, but takes away the peace of today. So as we come together on this beautiful morning, let us remember that through choice, we have the ability to write our life. And sometimes those choices are not easy choices, but once made, can determine the success or failure. So let us start today off with gratitude for everything that we've ever made it through, all the troubled times, situations, perceived problems that brought us here today. Sitting here, breathing, living. That in and of itself should give us the factual truth that we are love, we are light. We give gratitude for this center, for Sue's message, for all the infinite things that we never even think about. The universe, planets spinning at the right time, at the right speed to keep gravity, to keep oxygen. The plants that grow and give us that oxygen and take away the carbon monoxide. For all the running water, both clean and the dirty that goes in and gets filtered. All the things that we seem to take for granted. We have so much more to be thankful for than we ever do to complain about. So let us keep all of that at the forefront. Let us allow our Christ consciousness to come forward. And when we're making those choices and those decisions, to listen to what feels good, to listen to what feels right, and not allow our emotions to make knee-jerk reactions. So let's wrap all of that up into a nice simple bow, release it into action by simply saying together, and so it is. It's good to be back. It was also good to take a 20-hour drive up to Colorado and back, and when I was up there it was a nice 69 degrees in Telluride. So it was very hard to come back to 110, 12, 14, 15. But here we are, so let's make the best of it, and we can start that off by saying, Reverend Sue, welcome up.
Good morning, everyone. Did I not bring my chalk up? Well, if you don't want me to try to do it all from memory. That wasn't prepared of me. All right. So thank you all for being here today. It's such a treat for me to see everyone and to be looking at yesterday. John and Jake and I spent some time here trying to get all the bugs out of the new system, and it seems to be working well. So thank you to both of them for their time. And at the end of the service last week, this is an example of you ask and it's given. So at the end of the service, I said, we have this white styrofoam box holding the new camera, and I would like it to not be a white styrofoam box. If anyone, I have zero creative skills. I'd be appreciative if somebody would try to make it look better. And Tracy jumped right up and said, I'll do it. And so thank you, Tracy, for the lovely little covering on our camera holding, talking about the fact that we're grateful. So, and other affirmations on it. Thank you so much. It just made my heart smile when I saw it. And so it's, life is a process. Life is just this ongoing, rolling experience where things work and things don't work, and it's up and it's down and it's around and it's in between. And it's about learning to be in the flow and rolling with it. So the title of my talk today is It's in Every One of Us. So you guessed what the music will be at the end of the service, but if you look at the Centers for Spiritual Living theme of love in the course, having a higher and deeper love, and looking at how the world looks so different when we look at things through the eyes of love, through the eyes of common humanity, through the eyes of connection. That Holmes, I'm going to read the two quotes again that I used last week. If we would look for a God of love, we must look long and deeply into each other. We must look away from differences until we penetrate into the unity of the whole. Love alone reveals love. Hate but hides the gleam. When we let the love that is within us go out to the God who is in all people and the divine presence that is in all things, then we are loving God with all our heart and with all our soul and mind, because we recognize that the spirit within us is the same spirit that we meet in others. This is loving our neighbors as ourselves. And so it's really about saying, if I can stop and step back and look for a higher perspective than my immediate perspective of what should or shouldn't be, what's right, what's wrong, how we should or shouldn't be, that relationships work much better. And so I have, there are actually two quotes that are the quotes that are going to be the basis of our talk today. One is from Greg Boyle: everyone is unshakably good, no exceptions. And we belong to each other, no exceptions. Now, do I think that all of the vexing, complex social dilemmas would disappear if we embraced these two notions? And he described saying this at a talk, and he says, yes, I do. And he said he was really startled at that talk, that when he said, do I think that it would solve all of the vexing dilemmas if we really knew we belonged to each other, if we knew we were connected, if we knew we were one? And he said everyone laughed. And he was kind of baffled by that. And he said, when the question of, do I think that it would solve all of these vexing problems? Yes, I do. And he repeated that. Yes, I do believe that. If we really understood that we are connected to each other, we could see each other very differently. And then Holmes has a quote from New Design for Living. He says, we find that we must of necessity choose very carefully every element in our new design for living. We have to be sure that the broad general idea of the new structure of experience we desire to build is sound and indeed desirable. Then, as we select specific ideas to be used in filling the details of this basic concept, we must be alert that no element creeps in that could ever endanger the project. And this is the part from the quote. There is no drop of ink to discolor the glass of water. Simple, easy to do, but it necessitates vigilance. So I had lunch with Reverend Karen a couple days ago, the minister at the church in Peoria, and we were talking about this drop of ink quote, and it brought to mind I don't know if you did this, but we were trying to remember where it was in the cosmic scheme of our educational experience. But at some point when there was a teacher that I had that took like a carnation and put it in a glass of water and then put red food coloring in the water. And it went much faster. I thought I was going to be able to do that today, and I'm glad I tried it last night and found out that I couldn't because it takes longer. We were able to literally see the red come up into the vines of the veins in the plant. It took overnight last night. So, but if you've ever seen that, basically what it does, those veins are there. The nutrients of the life of that plant flow through that, just like through our veins. It's flowing in us all the time, whether we see it, whether we're aware of it. That we just need to know that inherent in who we are, built into our divine DNA, that essence of who we are, that is the God that lives in us, is unshakable, it's unbreakable, it's undeniably good at our core. We may create circumstances sometimes that could be judged as less than good if we were doing the game of should, shouldn't, right, wrong, could, couldn't. But even then, it was such a hard lesson for me to learn that there is as much God in me in those moments, there is as much God in those circumstances that don't appear to be what we want them to be, but God is still there. That essence of the divine is still flowing through our veins, that nothing can stop that. It's unshakable and it's unbreakable. And so for us to remember that it's a paradox. So paradox are the two things that are opposite, that appear opposite but can both be true at the same time. When Holmes talks about there is no drop of ink to discolor the glass of water, what he's saying is one side of the paradox, that we can poison our thoughts, our minds, our beliefs, and our outcomes if we're focusing on that which doesn't work, if we're focusing on that which we don't like, that which we don't want, that which we judge, that which we determined would be, that my life would be better if that wasn't there. I don't know about you, but that for years was one of the, if then statements in my life. If this happened, then I'd be okay. If that went away, then I'd be okay. And my favorite example of that is how many of us have been in relationships where if I could just get in that relationship, I know life would work much better. And then you're in that relationship for a little while and you go, if I could just dump this relationship, I know my life would be a lot better. It could be a mate, it could be a boss, it could be a neighbor, whoever it is. But that if-then look at life is one that really doesn't allow for us to open up, to step back, and to see the world from that perspective of, even if I don't agree with you, even if I don't necessarily like all your behaviors, because the truth is, who likes everybody's behavior? I don't like my behavior all the time. So if I don't like mine all the time, how could I possibly like someone else's all the time? That's just the nature of life, right? We have good days, we have bad days, we have ups and downs, and that is a part of the rhythm and flow. And the more I resist it, the harder it is to be with it. And the harder it is then to make a new choice, because what you resist persists. And so the process of being able to say, am I willing to look for some higher vision? Am I willing to look for some other way to see this? Am I willing to say, there is within me this divine presence, this unshakable, unbreakable goodness? Am I willing to look for that in you? To do that, I have to be willing. I have to be willing to look at people and say, is there common humanity there? Is there something I can see? Can I look past our disagreements? Can I look past our upsets? Can I look past our both need to win? I don't know about you, but I have a tremendous capacity. I often say, please God, please, when I'm upset, please let me be wrong. I hate being wrong. Don't get me, it's like I do not like it, but I know how to be wrong. It's awful. But it is much easier to get over than I am right, and there isn't a stinking thing that you can tell me that's going to change the fact that I know I'm right. And if you would just do what I say, if you would think what I think, if you would believe what I believe, if you would vote the way I vote, if you would pray the way I pray, if you would go to the church I go to, whatever it may be, or if you would raise the kids this way, I don't care what it is. If you would do it my way, it would be better. And I know I've told you the story of my brother. When we were moving to Utah, I wanted my brother to move with us and did not think going to Utah was a good idea. If you understood his lifestyle, you would know why. But I'm like, Utah, this is great. They have all that. They hang on to their family like nobody's business. So there are so many houses with casitas and mother-in-law's quarters. You can just move in. We'll look for one of those. And he's like, Sue, I'm not moving to Utah. And I was forever telling him how to live his life. Shock, I know. Shock. Finally, he looked at me and said, if I did what you said, my life would be different. Not my life would be better. You think it would be better? I think it'd be different. And that's something that when I get caught up in that looking at life outside of that bigger perspective of knowing that we have a huge component of us in common, when I'm willing to look for that, life is very different. I had a class with Dr. Edward Viljoen, who used to be the leader of our spiritual community. He actually helped us get through COVID, and I really believe that the Centers for Spiritual Living survived as well as it did because we had Dr. Edward at the helm. But he told a story about going to a community thing, maybe Chamber of Commerce or Rotary or somebody, representing the church. And that was a man who just was like, grabbed him. And he wanted to go to coffee and he wanted to get to know him. Well, Edward's a gay man from South Africa, belonging to a church that a fundamentalist might think that we were demonically possessed, because we've been accused of that on more than one occasion. And he really wanted to try to change Edward. That was his goal. So Edward had lunch with, or had a cup of coffee with him. And he somehow had the grace, and if you knew him, you would know it wasn't a hard stretch for him, but had the grace to just spend time with us. Every few weeks they'd get together for a cup of coffee, and they were willing to talk and to get to know one another. And one day Edward said, and I finally asked him, if the world was exactly the way you wanted it to be, tell me what it would be like. And so the guy painted this big picture of what the world would be like if everybody, in his perspective, was a fundamentalist born-again Christian or whatever it was. And Edward, when he was done, said, we've been friends for a while now. Would there be a place for me in your world? And the truth is, in the world he described, no, because Edward's a marvelous gay man from a New Thought. And he said that was a tipping point in their relationship, because he took the time, they took the time, not just him, they took the time to see each other, to see the truth of who they were, to see that essence of who they were. And that makes such a difference. And sometimes when I watch the news and I get my grumpy pants on, I stop and I think, if I got to know this person, could I find the good in them? Could I find the God in them somewhere? Sometimes it would be easier than others. Sometimes I go, maybe if I prayed for a long time first. But it's in there. It's in every one of us. That essence of who we are is not ever going to change. It's simply my job to say, can I set aside my immense judgment about how things should or shouldn't be, and begin to look for a bigger picture, to say, what's under here that I can see where there's common love, kindness, caring, compassion. It's in there somewhere, unless you have someone who's really tremendously unhealed. But even in that, underneath all of the damage that has been done by cultures and families and experiences, that essence is still there. It's a part of why I love Greg Boyle's work so much, because he talks about that all the time. He sees the homeboys in a way that is amazing. And he can see the places that they're broken, that they're unwell, but he knows that it doesn't change who they are. And that the only way they'll ever learn how to see that themselves is for them to love them, for the folks at Homeboys. So in his book, Cherished Belonging, he talks about a Mother Teresa quote. Mother Teresa tells us that the problem of the world is that we've just forgotten that we belong to each other. If we have no peace, it's because we've forgotten that we belong to each other. The simple principles seem to unlock a door for much that ails our country and the world. If there are people living in tents on Main Street, it's because we've forgotten. If there are more and more fentanyl overdoses, suicides, hate crimes, homophobic assaults, election conspiracies, anti-Semitic rants, homicides, massacres in Israel and Palestine and other parts of the world, it's because we've forgotten. If we can only land on a common story, it might just propel us to connection and belonging. And he goes through in the book a series of things that he said, I believe the following things, and he's kind of humorous about it. He says, as I age, I'm not saying I'm ready to kick the bucket, but I'm getting a better perspective as I age. And he said, I believe the following things. God is in the loving. God is inclusion. Demonizing is always untruth. We belong to each other. Separation is an illusion. Tenderness is the highest form of spiritual maturity. I love that one especially. Because sometimes I look at it and I go, can I love this person? That's a stretch. Can I hold them with a sense of kindness? A little less of a stretch. But can I just have a tender heart toward them? There's one of my teachers that once said, forgiveness is really about softening your heart around someone or something. But Danielle Laporte, in one of her more recent books, talks about the fact that she believes that it's our mind that closes, not our heart. And I know I did an exercise with you last week about putting your hands on your heart to soften your heart, to get the feeling of softening and opening your heart. But the truth is, you're not really opening your heart. As I thought about what Danielle talked about in this section of her book, I thought that's really true. What I'm opening at that point is my mind. What I'm opening is notion there might be a different way to see something or feel something or believe about something. That my mind is what's opening the armor that I have around my heart. But our heart is where God dwells. That's always open. That's always available. It's just what we do with it, with what we think, with the drops of ink we put in the water, whether they're the toxic ones or the loving ones. That's the mind that's doing that work. And so the process of seeing that love is always flowing, it's just up to me to change my mind. So Rumi writes, in the house of the world, if the house of the world is dark, then love will find a way to make windows. Say that again. If the house of the world is dark, then love will find a way to make windows. And to me, when I'm willing to look at life differently, it's me looking to make windows. And Meister Eckhart talks about the fact that we have to then also keep the panes on the windows cleaned. And that's a part of what we do when we come together, whether we come together in church or whether in a class or whether it's a book that we're reading or something that we're studying or something that's prompting us to just open, to be more loving and kind. And Father Boyle says, all of life is a journey of love that ceaselessly installs windows. And I love that imagery, ceaselessly installing windows. No one is completely whole or completely holy. It's all aspirational. The heart work we do is on our own. Whole does not mean unbroken. It means welcoming and growing more and more at home with yourself. All of life is a journey of love that ceaselessly installs windows. No one is completely whole or holy. We simply keep moving in that direction. Now, of my guilty pleasures in life, one of the things I watch is RuPaul's Drag Race. And a lot of people don't understand that, or why that, but I spent a long time early in the days of AIDS in Los Angeles. And when we lost the 100th person, we stopped counting. It was in a church with 3 straight people, the 2 ministers and me, and the rest were not straight. And it was an amazing time. But RuPaul, at the end of every show, she says, and be sure to love yourself, because how can you love someone else if you can't love yourself? And then she says, and can I have an amen up in here? And everybody will go, amen. But how can you love someone else if you can't love yourself? We can do it for little bits of time, but there's frequently an admiration more than a love. So how can we learn to love ourselves more? And I think that the biggest part of that is to realize that it's what he was talking about, that wholeness. You know, it's not that we're whole or healthy. It's not that everyone is perfect. It's none of that. It's that there's always in us that unbreakable wholeness. So Brene Brown talks about the fact that there are 3 things in every person that can't be changed. 3 things. And when I first started that particular lecture and a chunk of the book, when I was studying with her in Texas, she said, the most dangerous stories we make up are the narratives that diminish our inherent worthiness. We must reclaim the truth about our lovability, our divinity, and our creativity. And those are the 3 things that she says are unchangeable, unbreakable. That our lovability is there. It is present. She says, many of my research participants who've gone through painful breakup, divorce, betrayal by a partner, or experienced distant, uncaring relationships with parents or family or other members of their world, respond to their pain with a story about being unlovable, a narrative questioning if they're worthy of being loved. This, and she doesn't usually, she's not one who will say really like massive definitive things, but she says, this may be the most dangerous conspiracy theory of all. If there's one thing I've learned over the past years, it's this. Just because someone isn't willing or able to love us, it doesn't mean we're not lovable. If someone else isn't willing or able to love us, it doesn't mean that we are unlovable. But if you think about how often we allow someone else's narrative, someone else's story, be the ink that drops into our clear water. It's to me, it's just essential thing to know that someone else not being able to love and care for me, to connect with me, isn't because I'm unlovable. The next thing she says is that our divinity is unchangeable. And that is, she said, research participants who shared their stories of shame around religion had less in common than most guessed. No specific denomination has emerged as more shaming in my work. That always made me laugh because I grew up in a Catholic neighborhood. I went to a Lutheran school, which had a lot of, we were all about shaming. But I kept thinking, no religion has it more. And I would hear all my friends come home and talk about the nuns that slapped them with rulers all the time. And I went, ours are mean, but I'm glad they don't hit us. Anyway, no specific denomination has emerged as more shaming. However, there is a strong pattern worth noting. Over half of the participants who talked about experiencing shame in their faith histories also found resilience and healing through spirituality. And that's really important to me. The majority of them changed their churches or their beliefs, but spirituality and faith remain important parts of their lives. They believed that the source of shame arose from earthly man-made rather than their personal understanding about a relationship with God. So our faith narratives must be protected. We must remember that no person is ordained to judge our divinity or to write the story of our spiritual worthiness. So just because someone can't love me doesn't mean I'm unlovable, and just because somebody else has a different definition of God doesn't mean that mine is wrong. And if you look at what goes on in the world, there are a lot of, a battle over dogma has just been the source of many a war. And then the last one is creativity that she talks about, and that is, here we talk about we are inherent in our creative nature. There's omnipresence, omniscience, but the one that really nobody ever talks about is omnificent. Omnificent is always creating, and we are always creating. I listened to a big long program from Carolyn Miss on the change and transformation and some of the characteristics of shifting from a position of change into full transformation. And she talks a lot about the fact that, about how often we allow other people's beliefs about who we are, about what we are, about what we can or can't do impact us, but that we are constantly creating. We are constantly creating. And that's one of the fundamental principles of what we teach. We are creating. Our thoughts have power, our beliefs have power, our emotions have power, and that we can change whatever's happening in our life if we change how we see things. If we change what we believe. If we're willing, and sometimes it's not easy to change. You just have to say, in recovery, one of the first things I learned was, can you be willing to be willing? And I sometimes would have to say, can you be willing to be willing to be willing? Because that whole process of when I'm right, it's hard to let go. When you're really rocking hard on your rightness, it's really hard to consider someone else's viewpoint. There's a fabulous movie, if you're ever interested in, it's an oldie, Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, and Danny DeVito. It's called The War of the Roses. And when I was a counselor, I used to tell people, you have to, like your assignment this week, you could go to, what was that called? Blockbuster Video, and rent The War of the Roses. It's about a lawyer and a divorce lawyer. A couple comes to him and says they want a divorce. And he tells them the story of the roses in his argument to get them to not get divorced, but rather to look at each other differently. And the roses go to war over everything. Everything. I mean, like everything. To the point where everything that they own gets destroyed. Because in their warring process over who should have this and who should have that, something happens to the dog, and they, one accuses the other of saying, you did this to the dog because you don't let me have the dog. The dishes, everything. And at one of the final scenes with them is their war over something in the house was so big that they both died. A need to win, that's an exaggerated version of it. But I watched that movie and I went, wow. When I'm like that, when the harder I clutch to I'm right, it's dangerous. If God is infinite, then there is an infinite number of right ways to do something. It may not be my way. I'm not saying we all have to agree. But to understand when someone's locked and loaded, that they're locked and loaded on something that they think is the only right way or the best right way to get something done. So can I take a breath and stop and say, can I let them have their way? Robert Karen tells a story, and we have this framed in her office I think I had it framed for her birthday at the church in Peoria. When they were closing down the archives and the library, they had this period in Los Angeles, they had this period of time where they let everybody come in and just pick books out and then give them a donation. And she found a little scrap of paper in one, because they had some that they said, we believe these to have come from Ernest Holmes' personal collection. And so there's a scrap of paper, and we both have scoured all of the archives for his handwriting to look if we could see some commonalities, like we know anything about handwriting analysis, but when you think you're smart. Anyway, in this quote, he's talking about people who are having a strong opinion about something. And in it he says, should we rob them of their ammunition? I don't know, should we? Or is the way to bring about change is to just say that's their thing. I don't agree with it, but if I stop challenging and fighting and making you wrong, because if you think about when somebody's trying to make you wrong, if it's like, what do? You go, shut up, leave me alone. Who are you to tell me what to do? You're not the boss of me. I'm amazed that I don't use those words, but there's a 2-year-old in me that can put her little hands on her hips and say, you're not the boss of me. Grow up, Sue, is usually what comes out when I have thoughts like that. But it's about being able to say, there are infinite number of ways. Can I see them differently? So it's about what I'm going to ask you to contemplate then is if we take how we armor our heart to protect ourselves. We talked about last week, and that armoring around our heart that we build, we think it's going to keep the pain out, but it also traps the pain that's already in there in. And it keeps good from getting in as well. And then if you take Danielle Laporte's then a sort of expansion of the concept to say, really what I need to do is open my mind. My heart is already looking for an opportunity to love. Our hearts are always, always open to and looking for that higher vision. That divine love is always seeking itself in each of us. Can I let that be? Can I give that more power than, you're not the boss of me, you're not right, I'm right. Where do I put my power? Where do I put my allegiance? Pema Chodron talks about the fact that we put our allegiance into what we think is wrong or what we don't believe rather than what we do believe. Let me find the quote. Can I find it? No, I don't. So it's about, am I willing to get to the point where I stop having my allegiance with what isn't working? Because if you think about it, very frequently that's what we do. We have our allegiance with no. No. As opposed to maybe, could we possibly? Is there some other way? Here we go. Paul Hasselbeck says, you don't get a strong life by empowering your weakest point. And at some point we need to stop identifying with our weakness and shift our allegiance to our basic goodness. It's highly beneficial to understand that our limitations are not absolute and monolithic, but relative and removable. The wisdom of Buddha nature is available to us at any time. So that's what I'm going to ask you to do, is to just begin to say, can I soften? Can I consider that in this world of infinite possibilities, if I stop trying to agree or disagree, can I just allow myself to have more tenderness toward myself, toward the world around me? Because forgiveness, Nadia Bolz-Weber, one of my favorite Lutheran pastors and writers, we forgive not to make the perpetrator feel better, but because the longer we stay attached to the harm, the more we absorb it and risk becoming like our enemy. Forgiveness actually says, I will never allow this to infect my heart again. And that's true even if it's not necessarily about forgiveness. It could be about anger, it could be about fear, it could be about so many things. But if I look at it from that perspective, I am going to choose not to let this infect my heart. Because that's what it does. So, here's what I'm asking you to say, can I begin to ask some different questions? Does this support me in seeing love and loving as my home? Does it help me remember that we belong to each other? Does it help me to know that we have more in common than we do in difference? Does this help me practice thinking from a loving perspective? Carolyn Mace, in one of the lecture segments, talked about the fact that it's really about saying, how can I see this from a higher consciousness, from a higher plane? I'll probably give a whole series of talks at some point. She uses an analogy of a building, of a skyscraper, and that on the ground floor you see the traffic and the noise and the smell and the dirt and the clutter and the congestion and the chaos. And as you go up in floors, you see more, because you just can see on the ground floor whatever your eye can literally see from your viewpoint. But as you go up in the floors until you get to the top, where if you're on the roof, you may have a 365-degree, many miles of vision that you don't see, even when you're on the third or fourth floor. So really, how can I expand my consciousness when I look at this? How can I see this from that bigger perspective? And then, does this move me toward living a life based on my values or not? The greatest good you can conceive should be affirmed by your daily experience. That's the key to make it, and to know that you can always choose again. Does this move me toward a life filled with what's my heart desire, or does it move me away from it? Sometimes if I can keep it that simple, the answers become really clear. So thank you very much. So let's just take a moment and anchor that in prayer. So right here, right now, in the presence and the activity of spirit that is absolute peace, joy, love, happiness, harmony, wisdom, clarity, kindness, compassion, so much more. That space that sees through the eyes of love, that sees our common humanity, that sees things from a perspective that when we're attached to the circumstances and the stories that we may not see. In that space, that is the space of God. That is the love that is in me, moving as me, through me, operating in my life, in every area where I will allow it to operate. And in this moment, I choose to expand how and where it operates, with what power, with what strength, and that each time I ask myself, does it move me toward or away? There is an opportunity for a conscious choice to expand. And if it's true for me, I know it is true for each and every one of us, that there is this divine essence that is unbreakable and unshakable, that it is goodness, kindness, compassion, and that tenderness, that high form of spiritual maturity, is what I allow to be the filter that I put as I look through the world. Can I see it from a more tender place? Because that tenderness then moves me to kindness and compassion and loving. So I know that as we go forward this week, we do so with knowing that everything we hear, whether we hear it here on a Sunday or a lecture or YouTube or conversations with others, that all of those things which lift us and shift us and move us into this greater penthouse level perspective, that all of that is present in us. Once we've heard it, it reminds us, it creates the echo of what our heart already knows. And in that space, in that echo of remembering what our heart already knows, that we can begin to see the world at an emotional level through different eyes, that we can begin to connect with people in different ways. We can begin to connect with ourselves in different ways because we have taken the time and made the commitment to look at life differently. So I give thanks for each and every person here, knowing that the universe indeed has brought us together to come together to connect our hearts and our souls and our minds and to create a shift and a lift in the collective consciousness of the world. For as we change, the world begins to change with us. So I give thanks and I release our time together out into that exquisite synchronicity and synergy of love and law, knowing that the universe has already said yes. And so it is. So David Pomerantz, it's in every one of us. It's an oldie, but a goodie. So enjoy. And sing along with it if you want.
It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us by and by. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us by and by. It's in every one of us. Just remember, it's like I've been sleeping for years. I'm not awake as I can be, but my seeing, it's better. I can see through the tears. I've been realizing that I bought this ticket, and I've been watching only half of the show. Oh, but there is scenery and lights and a cast of thousands who all know what I know, and it's good that it's so. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up. Oh, we can everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us by and by. It's in every one of us by and by.
new winner. I'm one of those ones that if y'all just do how I ask, we'd have a better place. So think about it.
What if you could make a song?
Like right now. Pull out those gifts and tithes. Take them in your hand. Kind of think to yourself what it means to you and repeat after me. Divine love through me.
Divine love through me.
Blesses and multiplies.
Blesses and multiplies.
All that I have.
All that I have.
All that I give.
All that I give.
And all that I receive.
And all that I receive.
And so it is.
So it is.
All right. As these gifts and tithes come forward, we simply say thank you once again for the abundance of blessings that move in and through this center, back out into this community, this nation, and this world. And so it is. Let's see, I don't have a ton of announcements. Last Sunday I was up in Colorado. Well, I was on my way back Sunday, but Saturday I was in Colorado at a friend's retirement party from the Colorado State Patrol. And as I was helping set up the food, his wife looked at me and said, "By the way, you've been nominated to be the spokesperson for the family and commentator for the event. And I want to hear good stories." Well, me and my friend have a long history from like 6th grade. And as I was trying to prepare these thoughts, I realized that I'm talking in front of the chief of the Colorado State Patrol and a large majority. And as we've heard many times, it's important to know your audience. So I had to let them know that I do know my audience, but I wasn't aware of the statute of limitations, so there was a lot of stories I was not going to tell. And we left it at that. But the event, for a police officer to make it to retirement safely and healthy, most especially in this day and age, is difficult. I myself passed up a job with the Mojave County Sheriff's that was offered to me. And I'm kind of glad I did, because I probably would have ended up in jail and lost my job. But I think it's important for us, as Sue said, to try to put everyone's perspective into your heart to see where they're coming from. Being a, we'll say, peace officer, you're the one showing up at all the bad times to put things to peace and stop whatever's happening, which oftentimes makes you the bad guy in a lot of people's eyes. So if we could think of that when we start to judge. I've been pretty frustrated the last few weeks, and even my wife says, "Boy, you're cussing a lot lately." And when I'm frustrated, I can drop the F-bomb like a comma in a sentence pretty good. And I had to stop and think last night and said, "Yep, I am. I'm tired of the way I see people treating each other. I'm tired of the way everyone seems to be guilty until they're proven innocent instead of the other way around. And I think it's time that everyone as a collective audience stands up for the common sense approach. And just to give everyone the shadow of the doubt before you place judgment. So with that, I will say, don't forget our change jar, don't forget our pay it forward box, and don't forget to be good humans. Let's stand and sing the peace song.
I always have some. Oh, with It's always something, as Rosanna Dana used to say. One is we're going to take this down today, and the board's going to begin to look at it. So I'm going to ask you one last time, if you haven't checked off those things which are important, values that you see as the values of this community, please come up, place a little check mark by the ones that you think are important, and we will do some work in prayer and meditation and see from as best we can through the eyes of this community as to what is important to us, because I can't stress enough how important being clear on your values is, because the values drive the bus. So please do that. And then I have a personal request. So next month when I'm here, I will have 2 grandchildren, adult grandchildren, their significant others, and a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old show up for a few days. So ways to entertain small beings on the lake, given that I've not ever really done anything at the lake. Just bear that in mind. We're talking about renting a pontoon boat, but something to say, go to this beach and not that beach or whatever. But just bear in mind, how does one entertain humanity? Yeah, amen to that. And they're coming from Northern California, so they will need to throw them in the water a lot, is my guess. Anyway, so that's just a personal request. Contemplate that. Let me know what you think. But please do give that one last look, and we'll take it from there.
All right, let's make a circle and sing the peace song.
Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Yes, we live with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me. Yes, this is the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my sacred vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It's happening in my mind.
It's happening in my mind.
It's happening in my body.
It's happening in my body.
It's happening in my affairs.
It's happening in my affairs.
I claim it.
I claim it.
I feel it.
I feel it.
I believe it.
I believe it.
And I accept it.
So it is.
And so it is.
Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you. That was perfect before
Thank
I
you.
go to motorhome for a few months.
Very good.
Good reminders.
With the kids, there's a place out by the mall called Altitudes,
Uh-huh.
and it's a bouncy place. You
Oh,
go in,
good.
And it's just nothing but trampoline. It's very, it's very kid oriented. They have pizzas and sodas. I think they
Oh.
even serve alcohol now, which is going to be on me. But for the grown-ups.
Yeah.
But it's just they just go have fun.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. So
And
it's all
he's
air
5
conditioned.
now, so he
He'll love
probably well, because last time in Phoenix they had one, but he was 4 and they wouldn't let him go.
Oh, yeah, I don't know that they're. I never paid attention.
Yeah,
I've
but
only
that's
been
good to
there
know.
once. Yeah.
Good to know.
So
Thank you.
like that, so. Yep, and it's air conditioned.
And I
Yeah.
have a friend who has blow up kayaks, so she's going to lend us
nice.
2 of those blow up kayaks.
They're here how many days? 5?
Well, Sunday they'll be recovering from driving from Northern California. Then Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday they leave for the Grand Canyon.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So 2 days.
Yeah. So I mean, it's only 2 days. So, but that's an option.
2.5 days.